And exactly, and that's what I love about the indigenous teachings from India, from Tibet, from China, even the early Talmudic systems, the agnostic, the Gnostic systems of the early Christian church, had a holistic perspective where they always understood mind, body, spirit, always occurring, always dealing with the confluence of these three. And this is something that got left out, if you will, of our Western Cartesian thinking.
Yeah, we become very disjointed, don't we?
We're paying a dear price for it. You are listening to Mitchell J. Rabin on A Better World on Progressive Radio Network. I'm very glad you're joining us. Please visit us at our website at www.abetterworld.net. Become part of our A Better World community. And we are spending the hour with Howard Beckman, who is a master Vedic astrologer. And now we are about to really focus in on the stuff of Vedic astrology. We're going to first take a look at my chart because Howard was kind enough to do it, and it reveals all sorts of interesting, I hope, kind things. I'm kidding you. It reveals everything. So for those of you who have been listening to the show for some time, well, you'll get a chance to see from an astrological point of view what's cooking. And then we'll take a look at the larger world. So as I said at the beginning of the show, we'll come to understand some of the dynamics and dimensions of what is occurring on our planet. And even listening to some stuff about me will show, because I'm very much, how do I put it, a planetary being. You will see in fractal form, essentially, many of the dynamics going on in the larger world as well. So, Howard, lead us.
Well, your chart, I find every chart interesting. Because I'm looking, you might say I'm looking at...
You're looking at a soul.
Yeah, I'm looking at the soul. I'm looking at, here I am, it's a blueprint.
Yeah.
It's a blueprint I'm looking at. So sometimes people say, oh, well, my chart's not very interesting. It must not be, you must look at so many horoscopes.
Oh, please.
They're so, it's the person's destiny. I'm honored that I get to hopefully say some things that they find of value. And I always say to people that in the beginning, because many people I have to, first of all, tell them everything they already know about themselves in order, if they've never been in contact with this science, so that they feel like, well, wow, okay, there's something to this, because I don't know this guy. He doesn't know anything about life, and he just told me all these things.
Yet,
about,
he knows more than my mother.
So, well, that's not hard these days, is it?
Right.
So, but your horoscope, and it was very interesting that yours is the ascendant, the rising sign, because the rising sign is how we put the 12 signs of the zodiac to the 12 houses, each one ruling a different segment of life, we might say. But the ascendant is very, very important because it shows the basic nature of a person, how they'll direct themselves as well. But yours is very, very close. It's at the end of Capricorn and almost into Aquarius. And I might say that this is a chart which, therefore, you're very much ruled by Saturn. And Saturn was, we say, exalted at the time of your birth, meaning he was in the most powerful sign that he can be in, the sign of Libra. Saturn, in other words, the different signs are the fields that the planets react within. So if a planet is in a sign ruled by a planet that he's friendly with, planets have relationships, just like people do, we might say, then he's strong. He exerts his influence as well. If he's in the sign...
He can shine.
Yeah. If he's in the sign of a planet who's an enemy of his, well, then he's curtailed, quite a bit. And Saturn is what we call a malefic. Even I've done horoscopes for many Indians, and all I have to do is mention Saturn. They go all quiet. They're all afraid of Shani Dev, Saturn, because Saturn rules so many of those things that we don't particularly want to ask for. Right? And Saturn rules big calamities on the planet, and so his movements are very powerful. He's the slowest moving planet. But he was extremely powerful, and he was in your 10th house. So right away, when we look at the chart, we say this is a man who is meant to bring a message to the public. He's meant to bring some sort of message to the public.
10th house is the house of...
It's the house of career. It's the house of being in front of the public. It's the house of status, we might say, how others see you. And then ultimately how you maybe not see yourself on the deepest internal level, but how you see your duties. Right? What do you see as my duty in life? So there's no question that you're a message bearer. You are a message bearer. And Capricorn gives you that little bit of skepticism too, which is extremely healthy. Very healthy to have skepticism, not to be what we kind of call healy-feely, where everything is, oh, wow, that's so far out. Oh, well, not everything is truth, just like not every person is selling a product is actually what it is purported to be.
Value.
Yeah. We had the conjunction of Mars and Rahu. Rahu's the north node of the moon. The two of them in the sign of Sagittarius when you were born. It's a lot of energy. A lot of energy.
As in physical energy?
Yes, as in physical energy, and that's
as in emotional energy.
Well, I'll talk about
okay.
That. Yeah, I'll talk about. There's a lot of energy to you. I mean, before we'd ever met, or I really knew much about you, it was one of the things I talked about. Sun is also exalted. Sun in Aries, it's his most powerful sign. So therefore, physically, I don't know, I can't remember if I'd asked you this, but generally when people have sun like this, when they're young, they'll do sports, or they've got to do something physical,
or
they'll go nuts. I mean, there's all of this energy.
I am still a jock. I rode my bicycle part way to this station, so as I do every week.
Absolutely essential.
Oh, yeah.
The moon is also in a fire sign. I mean, all three are fire signs as well. Sagittarius, Aries, and Leo is where your moon is. And moon in Leo makes a very powerful, energetic mind, and at times you will suffer greatly mentally, emotionally. I have to say that if I look at the chart as a whole, the things that have caused you the most difficulty were the things that caused you the greatest emotional pain. One of the things that, remember I said, one of those subjects that people come to me about, and relationships, what's going on with my love life? You have had a lot of pain in that.
Tell me about
arena, just because the moon ruled your marriage house, and he's in the 8th house, and one of the categories of the 8th house is the house of death. So taking that as far as, realistically, what does that mean? It means, you might say, the death of relationships, and moon in the 8th anyway forces you to go through a lot of emotional travails. But it also is a house which lets you enter into deep psychic understanding, psychology. A lot of times people with moon in the 8th will become very interested in psychology or maybe tantra, right? Psychic phenomenon, and therefore spirituality. Right? So,
I am interested in them all.
Yeah. Oh, yes, very, very good. So this is...
Yeah, no, you're totally hitting and pushing those buttons. But isn't the domain of relationship the place where we both gain the most and also suffer the most?
Well, I think for a lot of people it is, but remember what I said in the beginning. It's the science of time. So having Lord of the 7th in the 8th, I will make an admission here in my own horoscope. Lord of that 7th house is in the 8th. So I suffered phenomenally in younger years. But in its time, when I entered a particular period, because we have planetary periods throughout life. Phases. When we see the planets and what they're purported to indicate, they come into full purview. When those energies come in full. So when the time was there that I should actually find my soulmate, I met my wife. And after that, it was phenomenal. I mean, and it has been to this day, and it's now been about 18 years. So, but before that, it's just like, okay, here comes some more suffering. Get ready. Right? So, but everything in its time.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in its time. So, you know, the strongest points in this horoscope of yours, when I first looked at it, your Mercury and Venus creating what, if you remember, the Raja Yoga. Raja meaning king, Yoga meaning union, in your 5th house. Now, the 5th house is a very important house. You have to have somewhat of a powerful 5th house to have any significance, we might say, in life. So you have this Raja Yoga there, created by Mercury and Venus, so you're also entertaining. I'm sure people love to listen to you because you make it fun. You know, you're interesting. It's not boring. Right, to listen to you,
from your mouth to God's ears,
transmit a message. So we start to see the nature, and the Jupiter period you've been in since 1996 has made you learn a lot of these spiritual lessons. Okay, you know, big time. But the crowning time of your life, and funny, I remember saying to people years ago, and if this doesn't come out, I'll eat the chart. I used to make these jokes. Well, beginning in 2012, next year, you change. Jupiter is a 16-year period of life, but you change to that period ruled by Saturn in 2012, July the 31st. And remember, this is the crown. This is the Lord of the Ascendant. This is, you might say, what all the lessons have been leading up to. We will see the results of why Mitchell Rabin was born Mitchell Rabin this time around. Because, you know, this lifetime you're Mitchell, you can call me Howard or Hamza, but who were we in the last lifetime? Right? Who will we be in the next? But why you were born in this place and circumstance, the crown, you might say the most powerful time will begin next year for 19 years. And so therefore you will have the greatest opportunity to do what you do best, which is be a conduit, which is to give to people in a big way, in a public way. And even in you'll go through the rest of your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, and even when you enter Mercury late in your 70s, it's still going to be brilliant. Because Mercury is part of that powerful yoga in the 5th house. So we see that all the things you've had to go through, right? I mean,
don't get me started.
I'm sure that those years you got your little tail, you know, tweaked, shall we say, from those late teens through your 20s, through your 30s, learned a lot. But these were the times of hard knocks, not sort of one of these fantasy childhoods. I've often said that to people when I say, wow, wonderful childhood you've had. But no. Not everybody gets that wonderful, easy childhood. No.
Right.
Right. Some of it's the
instead of Ozzie Inherit, mine was more like Dennis the Menace.
Right.
And much worse.
Right. Yeah.
More challenging, I'll put it that way, not worse.
Right. But if we learn from it, if we take the challenges and they make us, we might say, a better person, but allow us to really grow. And then we can maybe pass something of of value on to others, because that's really the name of the game.
That is the game. Exactly.
So
that's what jumps out at you, huh?
Yeah, it's what, it jumps out at me more than anything. And so this is what you were born for. There's so many things, that I can see here. There's also a healing quality to you, right? Having Jupiter with the south node of the moon, Ketu, in the 6th house, right? There's a healing quality to what you do. Okay.
I've been in the healing arts for 25 plus years.
Okay.
I'm psychotherapist, acupuncturist, stress management consultant. I had a healing center in New York City for years.
Yeah, but also you had to really learn it through suffering.
Yep.
Now a good measure of detachment while you're able to help somebody, but maintain a little bit of detachment.
Indeed.
Right?
The tempering of the heart.
Yeah. Massage therapists have to learn how to do that, how not to absorb all of the, lower energy or emotions that, from the people that, that they work on as well. The same thing with other therapists.
I've watched myself go through a cycle of learning in respect to this,
to be happy.
Essentially as an empath, because I am actually super sensitive. I can literally feel what other people are going through.